The machine Brian Cage is one of a kind. Despite his size, he's able to move with incredible agility, and he even pulls out moves like the moonsault. But aside from his amazing athleticism, what else do we know about him? Let's start with Number 10. His World Wrestling Entertainment past. Very few remember this, but Brian was actually a part of FCW, which was WWE's developmental back in the day. He appeared under the name Chris Logan, and he revealed that the inspiration for this particular name was Wolverine, in an interview with Chris Van Vliet. That's right, Brian is a huge Wolverine fan and has even made some appearances resembling Wolverine. His time to FCW came to an end when he received a call from WWE's higher-ups, telling him that he's released. And it's totally weird, because Brian is ticking all the boxes, and he was very surprised too. More on his WWE past in a minute. For now, let's talk about Number 9. The man who played a huge role in his career. Those of you who were watching WCW might remember Chris Kanyon. He wasn't the biggest star back then, but he was definitely one of the most beloved ones. Cage was a huge fan of Chris. Chris even often used the catchphrase, "Who better?" and Brian keeps it alive. Unfortunately, Chris is no longer with us, but the impact he had on today's wrestlers will never be forgotten. He was a very kind man who inspired and helped many wrestlers, including Brian and the Young Bucks. Here's what Brian had to say about Chris, and I quote, "He knew I always wanted to be a wrestler, and helped me out with plenty of ins and outs in the wrestling world. And then in 2006, he got me into Deep South Wrestling, and I actually stayed with him for a while. I give a lot of credit to him as far as how he influenced my wrestling style, and how he helped me get some extra opportunities." Number 8. Some general information about Brian. Brian's real name is Brian Christopher Button. He was born on February 2, 1984, which means he's 38 years old. His hometown is Chico, California, and he's been wrestling since 2005. He's billed as 6 feet tall and 272 pounds, or 183 centimeters and 123 kilos. And now, let's see the long list of the ring names he has used. Barry Burke, Brian Cage Taylor, Cage, John Cage, Chris Logan, Nightclaw, and Mortis 2. Number 7. Some more information about his WWE days. During his time in Florida Championship Wrestling, Brian had a match against his current All-Elite colleague Trent. He had also teamed up with Justin Gabriel, now known as PJ Black. So, what happened after he was released? Well, WWE contacted him again because they wanted him on Tough Enough and later on NXT Season 3, before it became an all-women show, so the plans were scrapped. The worst thing is what they told him. They literally said, "Let's face it, you're average at best." Yeah, seriously. Imagine someone calling you for a job, and then straight up dissing you. They're not only blind, because Brian is a great wrestler, they're also very rude. Anyway, Brian went on and did his thing in other promotions. He received some calls from WWE down the line, but he wasn't interested anymore. Number 6. His Twitter beef with a WWE star. A fan called out Cage for quote-unquote stealing Lacey Evans' moonsault. Brian said that he's been doing it way before Lacey did it. The two got involved in a little Twitter feud. I don't know how much of it was serious and how much of it was in kayfabe, but anyway, there's not much else to see here, as it quickly de-escalated and everyone forgot about it. Number 5. His personal life and unfortunate moments. Brian is married to the wonderful ring announcer Melissa Santos. The two met each other while working at Lucha Underground, and they eventually tied the knot 3 years later in 2019. Brian also won the Impact World Championship during that period. So, world title, check, married to Melissa, check, staying healthy, not check. Unfortunately, both of Brian's big nights were shadowed by in-ring accidents and he had to spend both nights in the emergency room. So, how did these happen? During his world title match, Brian took a Spanish fly from the entrance ramp to the floor and he hurt his back. And his bad luck continued a few months after, when he was feeling some hip pain which he further aggravated during his bachelor party match, the night before his wedding. That's why I'm going to have a regular bachelor party. Number 4. The infamous wrestling match that became a meme. If you're following pro wrestling meme pages on Facebook or Instagram, you may have seen the following viral meme in some variation, which goes something like this. Christian Cage versus Ethan Page versus Adam Page versus Brian Cage, inside a steel cage, with special referee Diamond Dallas Page, announced by Page and so on. Well, as it turns out this weird match has kinda happened, just not to this degree of madness. It was Brian Cage and Sin Sage versus Ethan Page and Nick Gage, and, wait for it, in a battle of the ages. Y'all thought you were original when you made these types of memes, but Brian is miles ahead of you. Number 3. Some highlights of his professional wrestling career. Cage has been wrestling for 17 years, and as you can probably guess, he's been everywhere. All Elite Wrestling, Lucha Underground, Impact, FCW, PWG, AAA, and World Series Wrestling, just to name a few of the companies he's worked for. The list of the titles and accomplishments is literally as long as Chris Jericho's list of wrestling moves, so I'm going to mention the most notable ones. He's won the WSW World title once, and also the WSW Tag Team titles with Flip Gordon, the PWG Tag Team titles with Michael Elgin, the Lucha Underground Gift of the Gods Championship, which was basically the equivalent of WWE's Money in the Bank, the Lucha Libre World Cup with Chavo and Johnny Mundo, both the Impact World title and the X Division title, the FCW Tag Team titles with Justin Gabriel, and finally, the FTW title in All Elite Wrestling. Number 2. His career as a bodybuilder and his look-alike. This should come as no surprise, as Brian is obviously jacked. Here's what he had to say about his bodybuilding career, and I quote, "I've competed 5 times. My first competition was back in 2012 and I won the novice overall, and I also ranked second on the judges list for the main competition. Then, I won another overall, and was actually presented with a trophy by the guest poser, Kai Green, my all-time favorite bodybuilder. That was back in 2013, and to throw it forward, I'm now sponsored by Redcon 1, just like Kai Green. They just hit me up recently about doing a video together with him, and that's awesome. From where we started, to be able to train together for a sponsorship video, that's pretty exciting." Unquote. The next one isn't really a fact, more of a personal opinion. I don't know if you're aware of bodybuilder and singer Rob Bailey. His most famous song is named Beast, which was also the theme for the movie Southpaw. Am I the only one who thinks he looks exactly like Brian? Comment below and let's jump into Number 1. A weird moment and a funny one. Brian Cage keeps his online appearances to a minimum, but when he appears, he's always entertaining. Before we see his funny BTE segment, let's talk about another moment. He lost his hair, in a hair versus hair match against Alberto Del Rio. Brian already wanted to have this look, so it was agreed to use this in the feud. And now, let's see why you should never mess with a machine.
Hey man, hey Fwig.
What's up,
hey
man?
Sammy, hey, great round the other day.
Yes, man. Fun game.
Great, yeah.
Fun game.
If we take him out, you're back in the tournament.
No,
Let's take him out.
No, he's
yeah.
an MVP.
Yeah.
No. Ah!
Whoa, Fuego.
Why do you only have one shoe, Sammy?
Run.